Shadow the new Praetorian. The clips shown in this piece are the intellectual property of CNN and Fox respectively. The opinions expressed by the commentator are the intellectual property of the Laughing Ogre. Now sit back and relax as we take a deep look into the so-called Muslim band. And here comes the Laughing Ogre! Hello, YouTube. Let me get things together here. Thank you, Real Me, for the introduction. I just want to take a moment and say I had another video. I actually did it twice. And there's something that I like to adhere to. And it's this. Wisdom comes from a multitude of counselors. Well, that said, if a multitude of counselors says something you disagree with, you would be unwise not to heed that advice, at least, and probably unwise not to just outright take it. That said, today, without even mentioning what I was going to do the video about, there's a few people watching this that will know what it's about. I'm going to take that good advice, and I'm going to keep my mouth shut, and I'm going to talk about what I do know. And that's this great land, America. That's, my opinions. And remember what the announcer said at the beginning. My opinions are not supposed to reflect everyone's opinion. This is a mixture of comedy, drama, music. This is art. It is my life transformed into a caricature that you now see before you. Because this hat is my weeding hat, and if I was to just take 2 safety pins out of it, it'd fall down, and you would see that it's actually a big floppy hat from the Silver Waves out of San Francisco. I do want to say that this hat was made in the United States of America. The pin that I'm wearing of Donald Trump was made in the United States of America, and there's a chicken feather there, and there's a reason that's there, because I don't want him to be a chicken hawk. He did not serve. Whatever reason he wants to give, I'm thinking that he could have served if he'd have wanted to. His father was very wealthy. I don't want this preamble to go on and just be a preamble ramble. So what I'm going to do is, we're going to look at these videos from CNN, 2 of them, and then we're going to look at something Tucker Carlson just did recently. And I'm going to, as I always do, now this time it's not cold, folks. I've watched these, and I've prepared myself for pretty much the vein of thought. There is no script here, but the vein of thought. You know what? Before I go on, I do want to say this. I had this planned, and I almost skipped it. If you haven't heard of Phil Hendry, I suggest you look him up and check out Mavis Leonard and Ted's of Beverly Hills Steakhouse. Come on down. Hey, yeah, come on down to Ted's of Beverly Hills and get you a Ted on the house when you pick a baked potato off the baked potato tree. Yeah, come on down to Ted's. We want to put our meat in your mouth. I've been a fan for years, so I can go back to, 1998 and say I was listening to Phil Hendry, and then this advent of everybody getting internet, I got it. And then I seen what he was doing, and he was drinking whiskey, smoking Marlboros or whatever cigarette he had, like he's going crazy. Now, I do not smoke cigarettes, don't condone them, but Phil, I don't know, he's still going. Listen, this is the point. There's nothing new under the sun. And talking to a young friend of mine this morning, they mentioned that, and I'm not going to intentionally not use your name, you know who you are. They mentioned that they didn't really care much for atheism is unstoppable anymore. Because of, he likes to tell people's names. And she mentioned Kraut and T. She mentioned a few. Look, Phil Hendry worked because he had genius phone screeners. They only let people on that weren't in on the joke. He was the caller and the mediator, the show host. And then he would take other callers that thought this guest that was Phil Hendry. It'd be Mavis Leonard. It'd be Bud Dickman. And some of the names are slipping my mind. But he had an old Korean War vet that would come. All of them him, mind you. And a catalog of, there must be. Easily without using the same voice and just calling it somebody else. Like the lady at the Citizens Auxiliary Patrol. There's some names that slip my mind, but the skits are coming to mind. Listen, this is why it worked. The people like me that loved it, I didn't really say much about Phil Hendry. I tuned in, and a lot of people just tune in to talk radio. And when you hear this, hey, long-time listener, first-time caller, that means BS. That's probably not true. They're saying that because they just want to get on the air and they want to kiss the guy's butt. People would say that to Phil Hendry and then go on and have an argument with Mavis Leonard, who was on there to let you know that she was mad because the Catholic Church, listen, I'm Christian, and I don't know, blasphemy or what, don't shoot me. But this was just comedy. She was saying that she's like, my boy, he passed away, done passed on and went to Jesus. And we went in there, and that priest, he told us that we was macking on Jesus, and I just can't eat the Lord. I just can't eat the Lord. Anyway, and people would call, and they would, like I said, they would argue with Mr. Hendry and Mr. Hendry. And Mr. Hendry would also be the mediator and the voice of reason to be like, no, Bud Dickman, are you sure that you want to go over to Iraq and kill, innocent people, even if they're, and Bud Dickman would come off these ridiculous things, talking about, he would heavily quote Full Metal Jacket. We were ready to eat our guts and ask for more, ask for seconds or whatever. All right, so that said, long preamble, because I love you people. You might not know that. You don't know me. I usually give people all the rope they want, and if they hang themselves, well, we can't be friends any longer. But that said hanging has to be something serious for anyone. Well, let's get into the news today. The news today is going to cover, and I don't know how much I'm going to chop that up. It's probably going to be a little jump cutted, because here I am compromising already. But what do you want? Put it in the comments. If you'd rather hear me ramble for, I don't even know how long this is going with this new thing. I can't, there's no timer showing me how long it's going, but it's going. It does show me how much it's using, but it doesn't show how much time I'm taking. So anyway, this idea, what are we calling it now? Everybody's calling it the Muslim ban. Now, this is CNN. We're going to jump right into this, and I want you to notice that this, and I'm telling you what, the hard bastard really likes the piece of work that hosts this show. But let's watch very carefully. I'm going to give him the floor. I'm going to give him a good chance to speak here, and then I want to say a thing or two about what he says. Nope, let me go down here.
President Trump's executive order on refugees and foreign travelers has sparked a lot of emotional reaction. But let's take a step back and break down.
Yes, indeed. Let's take a step back. Let's listen very carefully to what he says here.
President Trump's executive order on refugees and foreign travelers has sparked a lot of emotional reaction. But let's take a step back and break down the facts, not just deal with phobias.
Now, he was very careful not to say Muslim ban.
The order suspends the refugee program for 120 days, okay? It caps refugee admissions at 50,000 a year. That will be a major drop from the almost 85,000 refugees who entered the U.S. in 2016. It also cuts the Obama administration's ceiling of 110,000 a year in half.
Which, if you notice, doesn't look like it was that necessary, because right here you see that the limit was, I mean, why is there any outrage over this? But we don't break it down piece by piece. Right here it says 110 ceiling under Obama, but only 84,995 came in. You know, if that's a real number, maybe. I don't know. I'd like to know how many came in. And if this is just talking, let him continue. But look, this didn't change much, because you're talking about 34,000, 35,000 less people are allowed to come in than came in. And they were not going up to this number here anyway. And please remember, while we continue, folks, that this is a message.
Drop from the almost 85,000 refugees who entered the U.S. in 2016. It also cuts the Obama administration's ceiling of 110,000 a year in half. President Trump's executive order also bars citizens from 7 Muslim-majority countries from entering America for 90 days, 3 months. Iran, Iraq, Libya.
Man, I must say, if you didn't know that 90 days was 3 months, go have mercy on you. And welcome to this channel. We'll help educate you.
Somalia, Sudan, Syria, and Yemen. In 2015, about 84,000 people from these countries entered the U.S., mostly on tourist, business, and student visas, the majority traveling from Iran and Iraq. All right, let's look specifically at Syrian refugees. President Trump went a step further there. There's an indefinite ban on anyone fleeing persecution in Syria. Last year, the U.S. accepted around 12,600 Syrians, second only to refugees coming from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. You will hear that Christians can't get out of Syria, but Muslims can get into the U.S. That's not true. Equal amounts of each got into the U.S. last year. So, how many terror attacks?
So I'm going to look into this for sure. When he says an equal amount, he could be telling the truth in 2 different ways. He could be saying an equal amount of Christians and Muslims are coming in per capita, and that would be true. Or he could be saying that an equal amount of Christians and Muslims from these countries are coming into the United States. That would be incredible, if you ask me.
Have refugees actually carried out in the U.S.? According to the conservative-leaning think tank, the Cato Institute, of the more than 3 million refugees admitted from 1975 to the end of 2015, 20 were terrorists, amounting to 0.00062%. Of those 20, only 3 attacks were successfully carried.
And that's important. Only 3 attacks. I want you to listen to this, and I have something to say on this. Please remember what he's saying here. Listen to this carefully.
Terrorists, amounting to 0.00062%. Of those 20, only 3 attacks were successfully carried out. 3 people lost their lives. So, how many Americans have been killed by citizens of these countries? None. From 1975 through 2015, Cato Research says none. That same figure from South.
Okay. Watch this now. What's wrong with putting some kind of ban on these countries? I would ask, I say to Donald Trump, why not ban these countries? He's going to show you something pretty poignant. And the ban, there it is. It slipped into my vocabulary. The vetting, the 90-day vetting. You want to know the truth from me? There should be 90-day vetting for anyone coming into the country. Right now, anyway, right now. Because what he's not going to tell you is how many of these folks that are coming across are setting up websites and getting on Twitter and recruiting at because we're getting people now. I mean, where was the person for the Ohio State, the car, and then he tried to knife some people, or did, and the guy shot him, and first they were like, well, he's not a hero, and that one dude was on Tucker Carlson saying, well, he's not a hero. Wasn't he from Somalia? I wish I could just, I'm doing this. I try to show you that you should be up on this stuff, so I'm not going to start popping up a bunch of Google right now. Let's let this guy continue. I got 1 more or 2 more.
Saudi Arabia, 2,369. From the UAE, 314. Egypt, 162. Why? All of these countries were home to the terrorists who carried out the 9/11 attacks, and none was targeted by this ban. Also not on the list, countries where President Trump appeared.
Everyone should look into 9/11, the towers, Building 7 they never talk about, the Pentagon. Watch the footage. I would recommend Loose Change. There's a few of them out there, and they tell you what's up. And these people get on TV and get all incensed. There's that one dude on Fox, man. He got up and left in a huff, the dark-haired dude. And I don't know these people's names, folks, because I'll be honest, I go to my gurus. I go to get my news. I go to the internet. I mean, I name a lot of them. I'm not going to kiss their butts forever. Well, I don't look at it as kissing their butt, but I'm not going to plug every single time. You know who I go to. All you got to do is look in my descriptions. And then I could add a few more. I probably will. My description will probably end up being very short and my link list long, because these people will get up and act all incensed, or you dare question how 9/11 happened, or you dare question that somebody like Darren Brown can take a kid and work with him for 2 weeks and make him think that he shoots Stephen Fry dead in front of, it must have been 2,000, 5,000 people. Man, listen, folks. Darren Brown can do it. You know, we don't want to face the facts that there is something called Project Mockingbird, and that, you know, it's happening.
Years to have business interests. So finally, let's take a look beyond all the heated rhetoric. How big is the actual threat here at home? Let's be honest, that's what this is about, the fear, right? According to Cato, the chance of an American being killed by a foreign-born...
Excuse me. Fear, that's what it's about, the fear. I think it's about quite a bit more than that. And to be perfectly honest, dude, man.
Terrorist is 1 in 3.6 million. Looking specifically at refugees, that statistic jumps to 1 in 3.64 billion with a B. 2015 data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention shows us you're actually more likely to die being struck by lightning, being hit by a bus, falling out of your bed than you are of dying in a terror attack. The number...
Well, what's the difference between those things? Falling out of your bed, getting struck by lightning, getting hit by a bus. Well, unless you threw yourself out of bed or the bus driver really didn't like you, there's only, you know, all of those things are just, they just happened. No one has made them happen. So whatever percentage it is, I'm all for stopping it as long as it doesn't abridge Americans' rights. Listen, folks, this has been slow and insidious, but now they're pressing out the man, you know, y'all think I'm crazy. That's fine, but wake up. Wake up and look at the agenda they're pressing. Just because I heard somebody say the other day, well, once somebody's landed on American soil, then they have, you know, they're protected under our Constitution. No. Then if you have a horrific war criminal and you've transported them to Leavenworth, Kansas, awaiting transportation, they have all the rights due to an American citizen? No. No. So these airlines that just said, forget about this vetting process, we're flying them in anyway. And then you got, you know, the Grinch there, Tim Kaine, coming on national television, talking about, I got a video up about it. Let's listen to this guy.
And that study, by the way, that Cato did does not include the 14 killed in the December 2015 shooting in San Bernardino. However, if you put that number in, it's still lower than the other causes of death listed. President Trump's...
Well, congratulations, dude. I'm sure it is. Like I said, I'm not going to beat that up. I'm going to go right to the next clip right now.
You were an undercover CIA agent. How do you see this?
All right, well, you just heard that. I want to make sure you see I start right at the beginning of this clip. You know, I think out front, whoever, if I'm not giving you credit, the people that have made these clips, I'm sorry, but I will look, and I'll put a link to the original ones, because this isn't, I don't believe, CNN. If it is, there'd be no link, because you can find CNN on your own. But if this was someone else that actually took the time to cut this right here and put it up for my use, I'll make sure I give them credit.
You were an undercover CIA agent. How do you see this?
Undercover CIA agent.
Well, I think it's a sign of distrust to many of our allies in that region. We have about 10,000 Americans in those 7 countries. You know, our men and women that are on a military base in Iraq. Who's protecting that military base?
Americans, or Iraqis and Americans trained. Not what he's going to say.
It's Iraqis. We have special forces in Syria, and they're...
Well, yeah, of course we have special forces. We have special forces all over. Deltas, I mean, we have special forces all over the place.
They're shoulder to shoulder with who? Syrians. And this is an issue that is going to cause friction with many of our partners. We've seen in Iraq that there were the opponents of the current administration in Iraq trying to use this as an example to kick U.S. forces out or to not cooperate. We have to remember.
They listen. They're going to try. They've tried to do that in many different ways. Here's the issue: we should have never been there. Trump, do the right thing. Pull all our people back. Empty every base that's not on American soil. Empty them. Tell them if they want us there or want the equipment there and our people to run it, whatever, that they're going to have to pay us to be there. Just like you said. But right now we're paying rent in South Korea, where they're afraid that if we left, Un would just like go all Un'd out on him. He'd be the Union, and he'd just, attack. Like Godan from the north. Jira.
Remember that we do live in a dangerous world. And to fight Islamic terrorism, we need allies and we need partners. And
hey, look, man,
like
I'm not even going to lie. I'm going to give credit to this. The Daily Show's Jon Stewart. He's like, you want to know how to be safer? You want to know how to be safer? You fight Muslim, terror and whatnot. You know how to be safer? You know how to be, have guarantee that you're going to live longer? You ready? Stop smoking cigarettes and wear your safety belt in the car, dummies.
Many Iraqi men and women have given their ultimate life to put ISIS and Al-Qaeda on the run.
Well, many Iraqi men and women have also fought us in Mosul. And then, daggone, think about the battle of not just Mosul, but I'm telling you, my memory for names is not that great, but I know what I want to say. When it was Mattis came in and gave the Royal Marines a hand, and and anyway, it was south of Baghdad. And for whatever reason, the name's slipping me. But a lot of Americans lost their lives there. A lot of British lost their lives there. You know what, Britain? Y'all rock, man. Listen, Americans, hate me if you want. Put it in the comments. Tell me how stupid I am. But we rebelled against them. They funded. The 13 colonies were theirs for a reason. Back in them days, would like it or not, just like today, really, like it or not, if you had the power to take and control the land, that land was yours. This land was English. Think about it, folks. It is no different than a few people getting together and being like, hey, let's take over the United States government right now, and then just going for it. That's what happened. It was just us taking over from there. And you know what? Even after that, and don't think, well, that was in 1776. That's because you're an American and you probably don't know history very well. If you're on my channel, you probably do. But in fact, my followers, I'm sure, do. But if you're English, the pub on the corner has been there since 1620, so 1776, you can trace your ancestry back that far easy, and you know that your uncle and great uncle and your great 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 grandpa lived down here, was born down there, and they were the ones that that us Americans, most of us don't even know where we come from. We're fighting. I don't know how much longer I'm gonna let this person go on.
In order to keep them off of our shores.
So the Trump administration, has obviously picked the 7 countries, by the way, same ones that Congress had identified as risks under President Obama.
Got to give her credit. Stop clocks right twice a day.
But.
There's the but. Listen, when you hear but, I'm going to back this up 10 seconds, because when you hear a but, you got to remember something. If I apply to Harvard, and, I'm going to Harvard Law School, and I get a letter back, I'm all excited, man. Yes, I got my letter from Harvard. I'm starting to read. It's like, Dear Mr. Ogre, we have reviewed your references. We have looked over your resume and your SAT scores. We are very impressed with your musical abilities, your way with people, and your wonderful wit. But should I keep reading the letter, or do I just throw it in the toilet right then? As soon as it's a conjuncture, as soon as somebody says but, you're turning around and you're going in the other direction. Hey, look, honey, you look great today. But man, if I ever before I could get any more words out of my mouth, my little Irish wife would be up one side of the ogre's face and down the other side, and be like, I've lived with you for 23 years. What's this butt stuff? And I'm gonna kick you in the. You think no eggs for breakfast? Forget it. Your laundry, do it. Your damn. No, I don't know. Anyway, I don't know much longer, but we need to listen to this.
So the Trump administration, has obviously picked the 7 countries, by the way, same ones that Congress had identified as risks under President Obama, but it handled it differently, right? They didn't do an outright ban. They certainly didn't.
It's not an outright ban. It's vetting. I even said it. They say it so much, and I've watched so much of this stuff from you, my beloved people, and me, because I want to know what's going on. And it's not a ban.
Talk rhetorically anywhere like how the Trump administration is talking. You're a member of the House Intelligence Committee. Are you aware of any intelligence suggesting terror plots from these countries right now that would show this was a real and present danger necessary for a ban?
There are no credible, real threats on the homeland as of 2 days ago.
Well, then they need to do away with that warning system. We should be in green. They should be, pushing tourism to every country. They should be saying, go visit lovely Tehran, Iran, the wonderful desert paradise, the jewel of the Middle East. Hey, they'd be like, hey, Americans, visit Baghdad. Take Delta Airways to Baghdad this year. Your family will enjoy the lovely palm trees, the beautiful Sharia law that's set up now that we've deposed their benevolent dictator. Take the wife and kids. Just don't let them out of your sight. I mean, come on. You know what? Because of this, let's listen to the very beginning, and then you'll understand why I am going to move on to the last video now.
You were an undercover CIA agent.
Spooks. Remember, Stephen King fans, low men. This guy right here, that guy right there is a low man right there. You see this guy? And look, sir, please, I don't want any problems with you. I'm not even joking. I'm not Alex Jones. I'm just a puny little dude here. I don't want any problem. I would never want to have to speak to this man. He would, I don't know. You can't, what they do is they call it a gotcha. If the FBI or the CIA or anybody like that ever comes and questions you for any reason, folks, do your best. They can't torture you as an American yet. Hopefully Trump and whoever's after him can make it stay that way forever. But they will make your life, they will torture you in the way that they can. They'll put you in a room for a long, long time. If you smoke, they won't give you a cigarette. If you drink, they won't give you a beer. If you drink tea, coffee, whatever, they ain't going to give you nothing. And they can hold you for a while, and then they have what they call gotcha, because they'll say, what did you have for breakfast on Tuesday 4 weeks ago? And you'll be like, oh, let me think. Oh, yeah, I had ham and eggs that day. And then not me, because I'm Jewish, but I had corned beef hash and eggs. And then, and it'd be like, later on, they've been questioning you now for 4 hours, asking the same 19, 25, 30 questions over and over again. And then it'd be like, so what'd you have for breakfast 4 weeks ago, when you said? And you'll be like, oh, yeah, that day, I think I just had some oatmeal and toast. Bam! You have lied to an FBI agent. You've lied to a CIA agent. You made a statement that you then retracted and said was untrue. The best thing, look, what I'm trying to say is I don't want any trouble with these people, but I do want to say that this is a low man. He's a spook. That's what they call each other. He's an agent of chaos. He CIA, Central Intelligence Agency. And hopefully that's enough, folks. I don't want to talk down to my viewers. Because as all y'all know, we're small. We usually are around 30 strong a day that come and watch the video that's up that day, depending upon the topic matter. But we're going to grow together. We're going to grow together because intellect, intelligence, a diversity of ideas. I was going to cover somebody that had no diversity of ideas and one dogma that was so insane it made the most radical imam look like a party guest at a wild time in 1922. Yaga, 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 folks. How you doing? We're going to have a real good time tonight. Champagne and whatnot. Do, do, do. Yeah, it's 1923. Man, you got to be kidding me. He's a lowman. You should never, you can't, look, I'm going to get on with this. This is why it's not good to start excusing and saying that it's bad, and excusing people just coming in for no reason. Hang in there with me, folks. We're going to wrap this thing up. We're going to put a bow on this baby here in just a minute.
You were an undercover CIA agent.
Oh, not that way, we're not.
Said yesterday President Trump fired Acting Attorney General Sally Yates for refusing to defend his immigration order. Her replacement, Dana Buente, says he will. Meanwhile, the American left remains in meltdown mode with lawsuits appearing all over the country. Jose Antonio Vargas is a journalist and the founder of Define America, a pro-illegal immigrant organization. He himself is also an illegal immigrant brought over from the Philippines at the age of 12. He's a critic, to put it mildly, of Trump's immigration orders, and he joins us now from Mountain View in California. Jose?
This is important. Listen to what he just said. I'm not going to back it up. He just said he's in Mountain View, California. He came over here when he was 12 from the Philippines, and that he's an illegal. Tucker must know this person right here, because you can't cuck to Tuck. And I've seen him tear some folk apart, man. He's like the dude. He took. I was going to say he's male Megyn Kelly, but he took her spot. She went on to one of the big three evildoers, man. So, well, let me let this guy.
It's great to see you tonight. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Actually, I'm in Mountain View, which is where I grew up. This is where I came from the Philippines when I was 12.
In Mountain View, yeah.
In Mountain View, yeah.
Very nice town.
Yeah, nice
good
town.
for you. Good choice of town.
Very
so
nice.
You came over, you said, at 12, and I was thinking about that. I've talked to you many times about this kind of thing. But I thought, what would happen if I showed up in the Philippines as a non-citizen there illegally and started saying, hey, Philippines, I hate your immigration policy. And by the way, I think you're racist for not liking me. And I think maybe I'll file some lawsuits or support other people filing lawsuits.
My wife works with 3 wonderful Filipino ladies, and all 3 of them are citizens. They all came on work visas. None of them overstayed them. They renewed them, and they worked hard. Now they're citizens. They would, and let me tell you, they talk about the coconut phone. And Filipinos are tight-knit community here in the United States. They have not lost their identity. They're great, excellent people. I don't want to rail on, because somebody will say I'm racist by saying that they have a good work ethic and that most of them are not like this particular dude who I'm going to avoid calling bad names right now.
Against you, and, to sort of be quiet and accept my illegal presence. How would they respond to me, do you think?
Well, first of all, I was 12, so I'm not quite sure I would be asking those questions.
He said that.
The decision was made for me. And I think what's really interesting here, too, is, as you probably know, the relationship between the Philippines and the United States, right? The Philippines was a protectorate of the United States, like Puerto Rico, right? I mean, that's why there's more than 4 million Filipinos in the United States. We're the 2nd largest.
If you're like me and you like Nonito Donaire, man, the Filipino flash, so fast you can't even see his hands move. You don't know which way they're coming from. You don't know what happened to you. He gives you the left hook, and your money's took. And let's not forget Manny, the Pac-Man Pacquiao. Introducing out of the red corner, fighting out of General Santos City, weighing in at 132 pounds, Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao. I mean, I could go on and on. I love Philippines, but what he's not pointing out is that in the Philippines they speak Tagalog. They speak. My wife's learning it right now. She loves these girls so much. I'm going to have her say off camera next time I'm doing this a few words in Filipino, because she can. I was going to try just now, but I'm afraid I'll butcher it. They speak Spanish and they speak English, and the announcers for these fights, you'd be watching Filipino Flash, man, Nonito Donaire just putting a spank down on somebody, just hurting them so bad that they just wish that they had never put boxing gloves on in their life. And it'd be like, and it'd be like, esta una malo derecha. Esta malo, and then they'll be like, oh yeah, that was a pretty rough left hook. Same announcer, 3 languages. This guy.
Asian American group in this country, because there's a connection between the 2 countries.
Let me back that up, because it's
the United States, like Puerto Rico, right? I mean, that's why there's more than 4 million Filipinos in the United States. We're the 2nd largest Asian American group in this country, because there's a connection between the 2 countries.
For sure.
So I think it's kind of an interesting relationship.
There's a really big connection between us and England. Should we just let them? I mean, I'm all for it. Come on over, Britisher, chill, baby. Long as you want, just move in if you'd like.
And I think
it is, and a very old one, and a very noble one also.
And
I would say.
I have to say, by the way, as someone who's been on Fox News a lot, my answer to your question is, as a 12-year-old, I'm not quite sure I would ask those questions. I was not. It was not on my own volition to come here. I was sent
Of course, it wasn't. Right? But you're not 12 now, and you're making the case in effect that the U.S. doesn't have a right to say to people who are here illegally, you're not allowed to be here.
Right. Wait a second. No. The country has a right to define and defend its borders.
Well, then let them do it.
Absolutely. Any modern country has a right.
He still hasn't answered the question.
Right to do that. But at the same time, we have a right to ask harder questions of ourselves about why are people even coming here? Tucker, do you think I came to this country so you can beat me up and call me illegal and criminal on national television? Do you think that's what I want? Don't you think if I could fix...
He's hardly beating him up.
When you call me illegal and you call people criminals... No, I mean, look, the words matter here. Words matter here. And,
yeah, I believe that.
I mean, look, how do you legalize people you call illegal? You don't. You call them illegal. End of conversation.
Illegal. He's illegal.
Right.
Well, it's not the end of the conversation. And by the way, I mean, look, you're arguing something that contradicts itself. You're saying a country has a right to have laws about who can be here and who cannot, and you're simultaneously arguing that people here illegally should not be referred to as being here illegally or illegal.
Because
and I don't understand what you are.
Wait a second.
It's newspeak. This is newspeak, people. This is newspeak, people. What you gotta do is you gotta get up out of your seat. You gotta turn this shit off. You gotta throw open your window and you gotta say, I'm as mad as hell and I'm not gonna take it anymore.
Being here without documentation and authorization is a civil offense and not a criminal.
Okay.
And like taking an old lady's walker away from her and making it so she can't get it, but not stealing it. Like, come and get it, old lady, come and get it. Hey, look at your walker, I got it, come get it. That is probably also a civil offense, but it is still terrible.
It's still against the law. I mean, what's your point?
Wait a second, Tucker. Almost half of the people who are here illegally actually came legally and overstayed their visa, right?
I already mentioned it.
They didn't cross the Mexican border.
What's got Mexican border? This guy.
And I have to say, to me, the harder questions
like non sequiturs.
Okay. No, these are facts, Tucker. The problem is you don't actually operate in facts. You don't.
I'm actually not contesting. I'm not. Oh, hold on. No, but let me just say.
Almost spit out that perfectly good beer.
I'm not calling you names.
It's not.
What did I just call you?
I'm just really
a journalist. I operate in facts. You're a pundit.
Listen to this.
There's a difference between the two.
Yeah, I can tell. So, but here's my question. I can tell. But what does it have to do with anything? You're not answering my question.
He goes to the old. Hang on, I'll just let him do it.
Which is, if a country has a right to hold on, if a country has a right to determine who is here and under what circumstances, what are you arguing about? If you're agreeing that a country has a right to determine who has a right to be here, then what's the argument? If you're here illegally, we have a right to tell you to leave, right? What am I missing?
Yes, you do. But wait a second. But why am I here? Why do people come here? Right? What are the root causes of migration? What does U.S. foreign policy and trade agreements have to do with migration?
I don't know, but personally, I'd like to be down by Jesse Big Jesse Ventura, Governor Ventura. Love you, man. Love all you've done to wake people up. Love that you went up and did the governor thing. Wish that you could have made it to president. I believe that you would have been much better than Trump, brother. I mean, let's face it, you are Jesse the Body Ventura. And that, you know, when you chew that shit, it'll make you a sexual tyrannosaur.
Patterns. How did NAFTA impact not only the United States, but Mexico? Right? These are the harder questions.
I get your argument.
This
is the new argument on the left.
Look, I'm going to back it up because it is. It's the new argument on, look, and man, I ain't even saying not the left because I got too many friends that are left. I even like Jimmy Dorn. Damn it. You know, shoot me if you want to. But Jimmy Dorn's cool, man. He's funny and he's Jewish. He does some dumb shit. He's spitting Alex Jones' face, but I like Alex Jones. I hardly ever mention him because he's crazier than I am. If you haven't seen Joe Rogan's podcast with him, brother, you got to check it out. Sister, you got to check it out. It's a mixed gender, non-binary, interwoven otherkin species of very important gender. You too. Just check it out.
Trade agreements have to do with migration patterns. How did NAFTA impact not only the United States, but Mexico? Right? These are the
who has a right to be here, then what's the argument? If you're here illegally, we have a right to tell you to leave, right? What am I missing?
Yes, you do. But wait a second. But why am I here? Why do people come here? Right? What are the root causes of migration? What does U.S. foreign policy and trade agreements have to do with migration patterns? How did NAFTA impact not only the United States, but Mexico? Right? These are the harder questions.
I get your argument. Oh, this is the new argument on the left, which is America has no moral standing to say people can't come here because we've done so many bad things that we deserve the illegal immigration we get.
You know, that's why this is so poignant to me because it does tie into what I did 2 videos on. but I'm just going to keep out of it. Because, you know, you can't... Listen, folks. Have you ever had that fella that you thought you were just gonna, you know, they were aggravating you, or if you're a girl, you just, you know, there was that girl that you thought, you know, this person's bothering me, but I'm gonna give them the business. I'm gonna show them who's boss. And they might have been a geek or a nerd. I've heard Vernaculus talk about this, and Vernaculus he described it perfect. He was like, he was a geek, man. He was a freak and a geek in school. He was a high-minded nerd like I was, but I still played football and stuff. Man, I had no friends on the football team, but I was a football player and did very well. Anyway, and this has happened to me, but I want to tell Vernaculus' story. So he's being bullied and bullied, he sees this being, you know, guy being bullying and bullying and bullying, and when the guy came to him, he just looked at him and said, "What's up, bitch? You want some of me, mother? Get some. Get it. What? Ain't nothing but air and opportunity. What?" And dude, man, he's like, I didn't even have to fight, thank goodness, because Vernaculus is cool and honest. But, you know, he was like, the guy backed down. It was like, oh, no. And then he talked about bullies. This fella is trying to bully and say that, oh, we were so bad, we're so terrible that we had slavery here. The world still has slavery. Please, I think I said it earlier, listen to the Honey Badger. This chick if Honey Badger, do you write your own scripts? If you're watching this and you made it this far, I want to know if you write your own scripts. You got your poop in the group. She'll tell you who was the biggest slave traders ever. And it wasn't America or white folks.
I'm not gonna fall into this whole. I'm not gonna fall into this bad thing. I am just trying to make sure that we are fully. We must be fully aware of our own history. I thought that statement from the African Union was really interesting, right? Like, wait a second. So slaves had to build America, but we can't accept refugees?
Mrs. Jones, forgive me and give me leverage here, but none of us here now know anybody that was a slave. When I was very young, a very young ogre in the deep south, very young, they called me Nudie, and Mrs. Walper would keep underwear behind the counter of the nursing home my mama worked at because I was Nudie, and she tried to put underwear on me, but I'd take them off right away. And she had two things behind her counter for me, underwear and a yardstick. And the underwear was to put on me when I got there, and the yardstick was to whoop the crap out of me while I was, took the underwear off. Anyway, but the Candy Man, black, so black, he was like coal. And he had these intricate channels and wrinkles in his face. I used to sit butt naked on that man's lap and look up at him. And I called him the Candy Man because he always had candy. And if my mom didn't hate my guts and want me to die, she'd verified that this is true, and I can remember it. I was around 4 or 5 years old. And I'll tell you one thing, nothing inappropriate. He had a butt naked little white boy on his lap. And this just carries me back to that sweet valley I'm from and somewhere in Kentucky. But he told me of slavery through a person that had a father and a mother that were slaves. And, oh man, made me think of my people, and that my people were at that time actively trying to hide the fact that they were Jewish. I'm the first of a generation that says, yes, I'm Jewish. I'm looking at my Jewish grandmother there. Last name Weinbrenner. Never connect that with me. I won't say my father's last name, but it's just as Jewish as Weinbrenner. Listen, folks, I'm going to let this play just a little bit longer because I don't want to cut him off, but man, when the Candy Man would tell me of what he heard firsthand from his father. I've heard Samuel L. Jackson, from the Hateful Eight, talk about the same thing. He said, his parents, they didn't call white people honkies. They called white people patties because a patty roller was just a filthy. I imagine even back then the white folks probably didn't like them, but a patty roller was a filthy piece of human garbage that, you know, slave master was too cruel to his slave, or the slave just figured, you know, I'm out of here. I'm gone, man. The woods don't look that deep. They would go and get the paddy rollers. So they call them paddy rollers. And they would try to get the folk back before they could get to the Underground Railroad. And I want you to remember, there were a lot of white folks that got brung back by paddy rollers because them fools came over here from Ireland and wherever and did it on the indentured servant program, which usually cost you your life because it took you 7 years to pay off your trip here with no money on top. You'd be broke. You'd be at zero at a time where if you were at zero, you pretty much starved unless you pretty much starved. This is going to be forever. So let me let these people finish. But so there were paddy rollers. But let me say, this naked little Jew boy, 5 years old, would look up at the candy man and his beautiful face. And I see y'all just like that, like now. I don't know how many black followers I have, but I love every one of them. My godmother is black. You know, she wouldn't take care of me now if something happened to my parents, obviously, because I'm grown. But my growing up was a Spanish black family, was my family. From Cuba, fled Fidel Castro, did Mr. S. You know, and Big B, I love you, brother. You know, I love all of you. Miss D, you know, I don't want to say her name, but my first crush was on a beautiful black girl, Cuban. She could speak fluent Spanish, fluent English. The piquito palabras yo tengo, I owe to them, porque a mi pasado yo sabe más palabras para española. Porque aquí, porque tu futuro, porque aquí now, no más. So I can still speak a little bit, and the main thing is I can understand it spoken to me. Look, what am I going to do? Just let this play?
Right.
What?
I mean, that's a valid question.
You claim.
Do we owe? I'm not going to let this play. Do we owe someone something because reasons? Is that what it's come down to? Do we? Is it time that we had our comeuppance? Is that what it is? Is there something so bad and evil that we've done that, you know, the United States is the great Satan? Come on. You know, as a Jew, I can tell you that there's a lot of Jewish people that think that the devil is mentioned in, you know, and this isn't going to be a Bible study, but as far as the Hebrew text is concerned, it talks about the king of Tyre. You know, you walked up and down the stones, and if I remember correctly, it's in Isaiah. But it never says devil, and Satan just means adversary. So a lot of rabbis look at it as Satan they look at it as Satan is God and Satan is us. A lot of Christians wouldn't know this, but you got the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and the Pharisees weren't Pharisee, and the Sadducees were sad indeed. But most Christians would think that the Pharisees were the ones in control of the church because they got Jesus, and, you know, they got the Romans to whatever. It's in the mythos. They say that they got the Romans to kill Jesus. The Sadducees did. They think they were in control of the church, or the Pharisees. But no, it wasn't the Pharisees in control of the early church. The later Jewish church and the beginning of the early Christian church. It wasn't them that was in control. It was the Sadducees. They were the ones in control. The Pharisees were the secular division. They were like, if you go to church, they were like the elders of the church, not the clergy. You know, the clergy is who the conference, whatever, if you're Lutheran, the Lutheran conference, whatever, sends to that church to kind of be the pastor, which means somebody that is pastor, somebody that watches over sheep. Oh. Listen, folks, I'm going to wrap this up, and this is what I want to say. We have to protect our borders. It only makes good sense. People don't know. I was just going off on a long tirade about Pharisees and Sadducees. If you want me to tell you, I think I was pretty much finished, but the Pharisees were not in control. The Sadducees believed in reincarnation and all kinds of stuff. If you want truth, go to yourself. Go to your God. Go to your gurus. You can come to me if you'd like, and I would really appreciate it if you mixed in my ideas with those things. And I don't know. I'm not trying to flatter myself. Maybe I could be one of your gurus. Maybe I could be one of the people that at least give you a different point of view. We need to protect our borders. Trump is doing what he said he was going to do, and now he's paying the price. And that price seems to be endless ridicule from folks that have probably never made a product, never completed a project, never had a deadline. Who knows if they've written a thesis or like a friend of mine that I can't mention, or he'd probably have me murdered, a brilliant sitcom screenplay. Nothing like that. Nothing. Never composed a piece of music. And never come up with an original idea in their life. What do we want for ourselves and our future? Do we want people that lead by... They say there's those who can do and those who can't teach. Do we want the world led by those who can't? The professors? You kidding me? Some of these people, they were telling cops they should be beating up the people that the mob was trying to beat up, so that the mob didn't have to beat them up. That's a cyclical way of thinking that will always end in just a mob beating somebody up, or the brown shirts coming out and the SS and it's over. Humanity's over. Join with me, brothers and sisters. Join with me in the fight. Go listen to The Hard Bastard, TheBritisher. Check out Trio Logic. Check out the Honey Badger. The whole Honey Badger network. Check out Dr. whatever the hell his name is. He's got a funny hat. He drinks what looks like whiskey. But, dude, you can't be drinking that much whiskey. That's got to be iced tea or something. And get your news from some reliable sources. Heck, check out Logic. And since... I guess I was just told they kind of made up. I'm not going to resub, but check out Armored Skeptic and some other people too. You know, just check it out. Make a diversity. Heck, why not go by and check out, what's his name? Now I'm not going to think of it. Mario the Christian. What's his name? I can't think of it right now, but go check out somebody that doesn't agree with you. It'll broaden your horizons. It'll make your world a better place. That said, folks, remember, be good to your family. Be good to your friends. Be good to your loved ones. Be quick to say you're sorry. Be even quicker to accept an apology, especially when that thing your friend, family member, or loved one has done seems to be so big that you could never forget it. Because, folks, in a moment you think not, your friends, your family members, your loved ones, your life and your cause will depart from you. Hey, I hope you enjoy the music over top. About 90% of it's my original stuff. And if you do enjoy my ramblings and my commentary, let me know what you like about it and especially what you don't like about it. Because this is a learning experience for me that I'm only 3 weeks into, folks. So forgive me my faux pas and forgive me my strange ways. And please remember... one thing, more than anything else, I am an ogre. Oh no, lights out. I'm gonna punch your lights out. Get up, bitch, and guard your grill. There's something going on and I can't sit still. I've been drinking and busting too. I've been thinking of busting you inside your motherfucking head if your friends jump in. Oh girl, there'll be more getting moved, bitch. Get out the way.